The issue is this. Now, being a neurosurgeon, obviously, when you're very young, you don't think about leadership at all. But I wanted to be a neurosurgeon from a very young age. The story begins like this. I was very ill when I was about 5 years, okay? I was in a hospital for three months, continuously for 3 months, in a private hospital. And then there was this neurosurgeon, a very charismatic neurosurgeon, come into that hospital. Everybody is talking about this guy. He does some magic, in the sense patients come unconscious, the patient goes walking. So everybody is talking about this guy, and I'm a very small kid, and I think I wanted to be a neurosurgeon. Okay, now that is something that everybody has. Okay, but then the entire school career, the university career, this has been going on, and every time I had to make a decision, then this neurosurgery came into place. And as we all say, that if you really want something, the God conspires and makes it happen. So this is what happened. So when it came to me doing medicine, I was very good at my maths, and my teachers wanted me to do maths. But my brother went into the Motor faculty. So my parents said, nothing doing, we don't want 2 engineers in this family. We only want 1 engineer, and we want a doctor in the family. And then I had to go to medicine, in the sense bioscience, and then passed the exam, all that, went to the medical faculty and wanted to be a surgeon, obviously. And when I did the first exam, what we call the Master of Surgery exam, the first exam, the question he asked me was, what do you want to become? Then I said, neurosurgeon. Then the entire exam was on brain and the skull bones and all that. Nobody learns that. That part of the body is something that people don't learn for the exam. But somehow I knew it and then passed. When it came to the FRCS MS, the part 2 exam, then the same question came up. I said neurosurgery, and that exam was also on neurosurgery. The FRCS, I have done 2 FRCS exams. Both exams, the same thing happened. So it has been going on like that. So neurosurgery has been in my blood probably. So I sort of went through the training program in neurosurgery. It was a tough training, in the sense I was the first trainee the postgraduate institute had produced. Now the postgraduate institute actually started in 1981, and I joined neurosurgery in 1989. So for 8 years, not a single person chose neurosurgery. So neurosurgery is not a popular field because it's a tough field and a lot of dedication needs to be there. So I became the first trainee, and because I was the first trainee, nobody knew how to train me. So most of my training actually has become a self-taught system. Although I have been to UK for 2 years, still you don't get much of a training to be a neurosurgeon even in UK, because in UK the training is purely to sort of, it's an entry exam. The final FRCS is an entry exam. It's not a completion exam. So ultimately you don't come out as a full-scale neurosurgeon. So I came back to the country, and when I came to the country, there were only 2 neurosurgeons to the country, myself and another neurosurgeon in Colombo. So 2 of us had to look after 18 million people. And when I came here, I was put to Kandy, and then the Kandy unit was not there. There was nothing there. So I go there, and then when I spoke to the medical director there, he gave me a space like this and said, you do whatever you want with this space and make it a neurosurgical unit. So just imagine, you come from abroad, you don't have any friends in Kandy. I was looking for a house for many days without couldn't find a good housing, but somehow managed something. And then took me 3 months to develop a unit. Now that 3 months, I had to work like a foreman, in the sense getting funds and then getting the buses, doing everything I had to do by myself. So anyway, we actually, I got a bigger place than what he offered. Had to put a huge fight, got a better place, and then took me 3 months to develop it into a unit. And I actually developed a NGO called the Neurosurgery Development Foundation with my friends. And those were the guys who actually allowed me, sort of gave me the funds and the support to develop the unit. So we started that unit, and we made it the best unit that was available in the Kandy General Hospital. And that was the first time that computers were introduced to the health sector in the country. I'm talking about 1993. Okay, so we started that, and we ran a fantastic unit, one of the best units that we can have in the neurosurgical sector at that time. So obviously a lot of effort went in, and that probably must have been the reason why we have developed further from there. Because when you come to the country and you find that you're one of two people looking after the patients in this country, and also you don't have much facility. You're given a room and you are supposed to make a neurosurgical facility, and neurosurgery is one of the most developed and sophisticated sort of sectors in the health sector, and you don't have much there. Okay, so you start fighting for your things, and then you start developing your field. So when I came to the country, I had several dreams. One dream was to become a good neurosurgeon, because you see, I come from there, you come here, land yourself, and you are supposed to look after everybody, and then you have very complicated patients coming to you, and you are not ready for that. In UK, what happens is, when you become a consultant, you go into a team of consultants, and there are many seniors who are there to groom you to become a good consultant. Here you come here, you start working from day 2, and then you have to develop yourself. You have to make sure that you don't kill your patients. Okay, so it's a tough task. So you have to really become a good neurosurgeon to survive in this country. So that was one of my most important dreams. The second dream was, when we started neurosurgery, when I was a neurosurgical training, you see, our sophistication was very bad. We didn't have CTs, MRIs at that time, and then our mortality rates were very high. The rates were around 30% at that time, and we had huge numbers of patients coming in. We didn't have the facility. So one of my dreams was to make Sri Lankan neurosurgery top of the grade. That was the second dream that I had. And the third dream was that we have to be self-sufficient in neurosurgery. You can't have 2 neurosurgeons running the show. You have to have many more. So we started this training program for neurosurgeons. So from the day 1, coming from UK, I started enticing people into neurosurgery. So immediately I came, I had a neurosurgical training coming to me. And then from that onwards, we have been actually propagating neurosurgery. We have now 25 neurosurgeons. But we could have done much more. Unfortunately, the health ministry does not support that. Because if they supported us, if they gave us the facility to run a bigger campaign for neurosurgery, we would have done more. But at least we have 25 people now. And at that time, we had only 2 neurosurgical centers. So we had to actually have neurosurgical centers around the country. In each province, we had to have a neurosurgical center, because otherwise the transportation is so much. The patients die interim. So we have to have centers around. So what I started doing was, I started developing a neurosurgical center. Now when a neurosurgeon comes here, he's gone in to do neurosurgery. He wants to do neurosurgery. He wants to get his hands dirty and then do the surgery. But here you come here, and then somebody says you go and start a neurosurgical center in some out of the way place. And it costs you around 300, 400 million to develop a neurosurgical center. And who is going to give you that kind of money? So unless somebody develops a center for the newcomer, nothing happens. So I started developing centers before the neurosurgeons came. So I developed a center in Badulla for my first training, and then we developed a center in Kurunagala. Unfortunately, what happens is everything doesn't go well. In the sense, when I developed the Badulla center with the minister there, I was very friendly with him. I used to go to Badulla in his car, develop the center, all that. And then when the neurosurgeon comes, he says, I don't want to go to Badulla. Okay, then you have a major problem because you have spent so much of money, you have built buildings for them, built ICUs for them. And then at the time the neurosurgeon came, I had a 40 million tender in my hand. The best equipment that anybody can have. I didn't have those equipment. I had everything ready for him. Unfortunately, he completely refused to go there. And he fought and ultimately he wanted candy. And for 5 years he did not do a single surgery till he got candy. So that was that. Then we developed Kurunagala. That also, I was running the Kurunagala center with my team. So we have, by that time I actually worked in Kandy for about 2.5 years. Then I came to Colombo because there was a vacancy. And then from Colombo I was running the Kurunagala center also. I was sending my team there. We were doing surgeries there. I used to go and develop the center. And somehow the people who were supposed to look after that center did not look after that center. Then it went to some other specialty, and after about 10 years fight we have got it now. So there are issues like that. So everything doesn't actually fall into place the way you want. But at least from your perspective, you have done what you want to do. Okay, so that is how this whole thing came up. Leadership wise, I think it is something which we have acquired purely because we had so much of adversity and we were fighting against those adversity and then trying to make this country a better place for people to live. Okay? Yeah, my personal feeling is that the leader should be a visionary. He must have a vision, and he should have that vision for the short term, medium term and long term, and then he should try and achieve it. Okay, a lot of people have vision, but then achieving a vision is not easy. Something that you have to work very hard and you have to dedicate yourself and you have to have some confidence in yourself to achieve it. And also the most important thing is you need to have the right people around you. Okay, and then you have to motivate those guys to see your vision and to help you achieve that vision. So that I think is one of the most important things. And then once you have that vision, means you have the people to run the vision, then you have to go behind and make sure that it happens. Okay, so it's a very important thing. So something that you have to be sort of really dedicated to. So that's what I feel that what a leader should be. Okay, he should be a visionary who tries and achieves what the vision. That's what I feel.
But also doing it through a team.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, you need to have the right people to do that, because obviously you can't do it alone. Okay, so it is one of the most important things. So yeah, now basically when I talk about neurosurgery, okay, neurosurgery, what we play is a game. Okay, in that game, my team against the patient and the disease and their relations. So my team has to be a formidable team, and also when you are talking about the game, it is a game of life. We are fighting for life, okay? And we have to win. So you don't have a choice. You have to fight to win. So every time we do a surgery, we are fighting to win. As I told you that we had a 30% mortality at that time. Now my mortality is less than 1%. We have reduced to less than 1%. Nobody dies here. So my motto is, my patients do not die. That is my motto. Okay, so to achieve that, you have to have that team. Okay, so we have the first level, who is my team, who is there with me, sort of assisting me for surgery and all that. Absolutely dedicated. I tell that they are the best team in the world, because we have groomed them for the last 20 years. My assistants are all groomed for the last 20 years. They know exactly what they should do. And also the other teams, like the ICU team, the ward teams, they have been groomed, they know exactly what to do. So the most important thing about the team is, each individual should know exactly what that person should do. And for that, you have to make sure that they have been trained for that. Now, what I generally say is, now when I do surgery, my eyes are on a microscope. I don't see anything else. I see only that. Okay? Now, sometimes peripherally, there are things that can happen that I do not see. So when I do surgery, there are 8 eyes looking at the field and making sure that I do not make a mistake. Okay, so that is the importance. So you have to have those 8 eyes working for you and dedicated for you. They should love you to that extent. Okay, there are certain times when we were training, our bosses were so bad. Okay, we don't feel for him. Okay, even if he makes a mistake, we are not unhappy about it. Now here, these guys are there. Their eyes are glued there. They are watching that field. And if I am going to make a mistake, they will tell me. So that is the most important thing in this game. Okay, so it is not the neurosurgeon alone which does the game. It is the others who are around, who are watching the entire thing, making sure that nothing happens. So that is the type of dedication that you need from your team. So that is what you have to inculcate in your people. Yeah, obviously most of my values came from my mother. She is a fighter, absolute fighter. Everyone knows about my mother. Because you see, we are not from a wealthy family. My mother was a teacher, my father was a government servant. They didn't have much money. There were 3 of us. They had to sort of educate us. My father, actually most of the time he was not at home. He was in outstations working. So my mother ran the whole show. And with that small amount of money, she was really running the show and working so hard. She was a teacher. She used to do the examinations, this invigilation, paper marking, all that. And I knew the amount of effort that she was taking. To tell you, from the entire school career of mine, I have never bought a single textbook. I have never bought a instrument set. Didn't have a kawakatu pettiyak tibila naha kawadaවත්. The entire medical career, I didn't have a single textbook. I didn't have a stethoscope. When I went to my final exam, I didn't have a stethoscope. His mother is the one who gave me the stethoscope after I passed my final exam. So I've gone through that, and you need to know how to sort of live life even with that amount of difficulty. Of course, if I asked my mother, she would have definitely bought me everything. But then as a person, okay, knowing the amount of difficulties she goes through, then obviously I can't ask her. So that is how we were brought. So she actually is one of the people who actually inspired us to sort of come this way. And then the amount of dedication that she has to teach us in the sense, in the middle of the night she gets up, make us she drags us from the bed and
puts you at the
table and sits there till you start studying. Okay, so without her support, I don't think we would ever have become doctors and so on. And then we were living in Bambalapiti Flats. Now, Bambalapiti Flats is a place where a lot of drugs and all that was happening. And to tell you, by about 20 years, 3 of my friends were dead because of drugs alone. So we were living in the middle of that. And to become somebody like what we are now was a big challenge, because you're in the midst of it. You're playing with them, you're sort of interacting with them all the time. But then obviously some luck or whatever put together, we have come all this way. So mother was the first person. Then of course my wife, she has been a rock of strength, in the sense, to tell you now, I live alone here. My family lives in UK, and my wife and daughter actually left in 2002. Now we are 2019, so 17 years we have been like that. So she has been bringing up my daughter by herself. Obviously I have been going every year for maybe 3-4 times, 2 weeks and so on, but then it's a difficult thing. And she has been sort of allowing me to do this. You see, now the biggest challenge that I had was when my family was leaving, I had to take a decision as to whether I should go there with her or be in the country. And I deeply love this country, and I deeply love my profession. So now I had to take the decision, and this decision was a major decision. The moment you leave this country to go and work abroad, you can never come back. You cannot come back and work. It does not happen. So if you want to live in this country, you have to be here, you have to be with the people. So I knew that I could manage my family, even if they were there. But if I left the country, I would never come back. So I had to be here. And I was doing some projects which were completely out of the ordinary, and if I'm not there, it will never happen. And I was doing it for people of the country. So it was big management between the family and the country. So somehow I think I have won the family and the country as well. So when I came to Colombo, it was a tough fight. Again, when I came to Colombo, I was given a ward which was completely neglected. If I tell you, the floor was a terrazzo floor. There were more holes than terrazzo itself. And every bed, there were no planks in the bed. They have put broken doors and all that. And each bed, not a single bed had a sort of a plank. And the mattresses were this thin. And people have been living in them, dirtying them, and that was how it was. So again started this whole business, and started campaigning, improving the system, and with a lot of fight we made it again one of the best wards in the hospital. And for now, when we are talking about, we have two different segments in neurosurgery. One segment is called trauma, the other one is what we call routine neurosurgery. Now, as you know, we have an accident service in the hospital. Now that entire building, although you have so many beds and theatres and so on, we did not have a single bed or a single theatre in that accident service for head injuries. So we had only 2 theatres for the entire neurosurgery for routine as well as head injuries. Now if you are doing a surgery and a patient comes with a bad head injury, there was no way that you can stop the routine surgery and take the other person. And there were patients dying like crazy. So we had to do something about it. So what I did was, for 2 years, I collected data about all these patients who come to the hospital and what happens to them. It's a tough task, tracking those people and finding out what happens. Now, when we look at the statistics, we have about 10,000 patients getting admitted with severe head injury to the National Hospital. Now, for 10,000, we don't have a single bed. We are using the usual wards. Now, these people are critically ill and they need ICU care, HDU care and so on. We didn't have a single place. With a lot of fight, we got a 4-bed small unit in the accident service and a single theatre in the accident service for trauma. But that is not enough. You cannot run that show with that amount of facility. So what I did was, after doing that research, we found that there were 10,000 patients getting admitted. Out of those 10,000, 2,000 were dying. Okay? So we had to do something about it. So I wrote a project proposal called the Neurotrauma Center. Okay? Now, my vision at that particular time was to have about 40 beds and 2 theatres and a 10-bed ICU. Now that was my vision. So we needed a reasonable amount of money and I was campaigning. Now when you are campaigning, there is no point going around the country collecting 10 rupees, okay, because you cannot find that amount of money like that. So what I did was, I was actually campaigning at a higher level. So I was campaigning at corporate level and then finally went and gave a talk to the Treasury. So gave a talk to the Treasury and then I told them, you see, if you have a head injury tomorrow, the chances are that you will, at least 30 to 40% chances that you will die. Okay? So they listened to me and 2 days later they gave me a call and said, Doctor, we are allocating 250 million rupees for you. You can start your building and then we will help you. We will get a donor for you to have your equipment. So I was very happy. Obviously, who is going to give you 250 million like that? So went around the hospital, found a place, had to do a lot of work to get a piece of land inside the hospital to develop this neurotrauma center. Luckily for me, there was a building which was getting demolished and I could somehow get it. Then I was trying to sort of plan it and all that, and I heard that there was a group of donors coming from Saudi Arabia and they were looking for a healthcare project, and the entire country did not have a healthcare project to give them. These are people who fund mega projects. They are talking about Mahavali kind of projects. So I went and met them in the hotel. Okay, went to the hotel, talked to them, and then I gave them the project proposal. The project proposal was done according to the national way. So gave them the project proposal and they immediately said, looks a good project, but we want to see what your facility is now. So I got them into my car, okay, and came to the hospital, showed them, and they saw stars. Okay, because obviously what they see and what in their country and what we have here is absolutely crazy. So immediately they said, this is a good project, we will fund you. And the criteria is, they said, we do not fund anything less than 15 million US dollars. Okay?
15 million.
15 million. So you have to upscale your project. So you have to make sure that your project is about 15 million or more. So what I did was, obviously, it's like a dream come true, no? Somebody coming and giving you 15 million bucks. So what I did was, I drew a plan for a comprehensive neurotrauma center. Now this comprehensive neurotrauma center means it's the biggest neurotrauma center in the world. Okay, now this has 320 beds. It has 66 ICU beds and 8 theaters and everything that you need to be a self-sufficient hospital, including a blood bank, to path lab, to biomedical engineering unit, to the satellite communication center, helipad, everything. So we sort of thought of all that to make it a world-class center. And the world-class in the sense, we wanted to be top of the range and have communication with the best of the centers in the world, so that we collaborate with them on research and so on. And one of the most important things that I want to make sure that we have enough statistics about our head injuries so that we can make a change in the system. Okay, to give you a small example, there is a guy who has actually done the most amount of work on head injuries. Okay, and this is a professor from UK, and he came to Sri Lanka on a visit. I was the one who was taking him around. He said he was asked by the Thailand government to come to Thailand because they were having so many head injuries and people were dying. So he went to Thailand way back, and he found that the most important factor was these guys were not wearing helmet. So he did a research, gave the advice on helmet use, and within no time 50% of the deaths were reduced. And that is how helmets came into place. Okay, that is how the world started using helmets. Okay, so that is what I wanted to do. I wanted to have that amount of statistics so that we can change the legislature, so that we can reduce the numbers of head injuries. There is no point treating head injuries. You have to reduce the numbers. That is how you treat head injuries. So that is what I want to do. So we had everything ready, in the sense computers, everything put in place. Every patient who comes, we have a team who will look into the entire incident, sort of get the data and so on. So we had the money, and now the first thing when I had the money, now by that time the health ministry didn't know anything about the project. They didn't know about the project. The money came straight to the health ministry, and the health ministry people were very unhappy about it, because the money was actually given to me on a personal kind of basis. So the money came to the health ministry. Those guys were very unhappy, because you see what happens is there is always corruption there. So when money goes into a healthcare project, generally 50% of the money gets wasted. Okay, so people were saying, what is the point? You are getting 15 million US dollars. You are going to lose about 7.5 for various other things. I said nothing doing. I am going to be there in every tender committee, so that no money is lost. So I go there, and then I am in every tender committee. Okay, so the architectural committee, I was there. Then the building contracts, so there, everything. So when you do that, when you prevent people from sort of making money out of it, then you make a lot of enemies. So so the minister was very angry. He started sort of regarding me. In every meeting he has, he talks about me. Okay, so who cares? Obviously, you are doing something good, you don't care very much. So it went on like this. We chose a company for the construction. So the money allocation was 7.5 million for the building, 7.5 million for the equipment like MRI, CT, the top grade equipment. And you have seen the Norris Canal, isn't it? Now Norris Canal, when it goes inside the hospital, it's about that size. Okay, that big canal is about that size when it goes inside the hospital. So we wanted to do a CSR project with this building thing. We want to make the canal as wide as what it is outside. So what we did was we made the construction, sort of the architectural plan, in such a way that the canal is under the road in front of the building. So we were going to do it through the money that we had. But unfortunately, CMC came and said, nobody touches that canal. Okay, so they said they will do it. So the building contract was for 1 year. These people took 2 years to build the canal. So because of that delay and sort of the penalties and the cost escalation and so on, we lost 500 million rupees. Okay, so now we have built the building, and when it came to the sort of equipment, we were short of 500 million. Now, the ministry is angry with me. He is gunning to sort of upset this project. One day he calls and says, a big meeting, he calls and says, we are going to open the building in 2 weeks' time, and we are going to sort of give it to all the others, leaving one 40-bed unit to neurosurgery with 1 theatre. Rest will be distributed among surgeons, because surgeons were also gunning for the facility here. So I got up and said, sir, this is something which was meant for neurosurgery. The money came for neurosurgery, and the donors expect this to be for neurosurgery. But he started scolding me and so on. So I was very unhappy, went home. Next day went to the treasury again. And went to the treasury, spoke to Dr. Jayasundar, who was the secretary, and I told him he knew about the project and so on. I told him, now we have a problem like this, what can we do? So he said, wait for 30 minutes, and he came and gave 500 million. Just like that, he gave me 500 million. He said, finish the project. Okay, don't worry about it, finish the project. And 2 days later, the minister again calls a meeting, and she says, we have got the money, but we are not using it. We are going to open it as we thought about. And I am going to distribute among the other people. Then I got up and said, sir, this money you should have gone and brought, because you have more clout than me. And if you want to do something, you are the minister. Okay, if you want to do something good for the country, you should have gone and got that money. So now I go and get the money, and this is your onus to try and make sure that this happens. And I said, you see, when this building is opened, my name is not going to be there in that plaque. It is your name which is going to be there in that plaque. Okay, it is you who should take the initiative and do this. Then he started begging me, and then I got up and said, I don't think you value our contributions, and I don't think the health ministry needs anybody like us. And I came back and gave my resignation and went home. So I was at that time 48 years. So I gave the resignation, went home. And the next day morning, the president calls me and says, Sunil, you don't need to go. We will somehow finish the project. I will not allow the minister to handle the project. I will handle the project. Because you cannot work in the health ministry, you come and work for me as a presidential advisor. Okay, so I went as a presidential advisor. They gave me a seconded post as an advisor, and then the only thing was I was supposed to work like I was doing before, okay, doing my neurosurgery. And to continue as it is, and then the moment I finish my sort of secondment, I go back as the neurosurgeon to the National Hospital, because at that time I was the senior most neurosurgeon. So I went there, and I was working. 2 weeks later, they advertised my post, and they filled the post. So I don't have a place to work now. Okay, so there was no way to work, but still, because of the people, I continued to work for almost 3.5 years under my junior. My junior had a ward, so I was going there helping him run the ward. And finally the neurotrauma unit was done. Everything which we wanted was there, and they were going to open the building the next day. And the health ministry had a meeting regarding me, and they give me a call and say, if you want to come, we will give you a position as the most junior neurosurgeon in the neurosurgery unit. Then I said, what do you mean by that? What will you give me to sort of function? Will you give me a ward, a theatre, staff? Then the secretary of the ministry says, Sunil, you don't need to have anybody. You just come there and everybody will be around you. Okay? I said, talking sort of nonsense, isn't it? So, because if I am going to work, I need that amount of facility. So I told him he should go and meet the president and talk about it. But then, before I could talk, they have gone to the president and told that I was getting a fantastic opportunity. I am refusing to come. So the next day was the opening ceremony, and the president was asking me to come and take that position. I said, I can't. So I never went to the opening ceremony even. So I haven't actually worked a single day in that unit. But obviously we have done what we wanted to do. It's a fantastic facility. But of course it is not working as we expected. But then that's all that we can do. Okay, we have done everything that we can do from our point of view to make it a better place. But then that's the way it is. So the frustration in that sense is, I have no issues with that. Everybody, we don't do things for ourselves. These are done for the people of the country. The only thing that bothers me is that what we envisioned did not happen, because they are not using it the way we wanted. And before I actually left, I talked to all the neurosurgeons and said, this is for you. This is for the people of this country, and this is for the generations of neurosurgeons who are going to come to this country. And this is a number one place for neurosurgeons. And you will never get something like this again. So I told them to come, and I will take them through the building. For every person, individually I would take them through, show them the facility, so that they will know exactly what my vision was, so that they can continue what we wanted. But not a single person came. So that's the way it goes. It happens that way. But then, what can you do? Okay. So the issue is this, in the sense, I used to go there whenever my family wanted me, I used to go there. But then being here most of the time, I could actually dedicate my entire working hours for this. You see, now we always say that if you want to become a professional, you have to do at least 10,000 hours. I have done more than 100,000 hours. So you automatically become a professional in this. So it has been a balance in the sense you have to balance the family when they're there. Then when they have a problem, you have to go there. do whatever that is necessary. But then that is part of commitment, isn't it? So we have been doing that, and luckily my wife has not been grumbling about it too much. She does grumble at times, but then that's the way it goes. Yeah, in my profession, there are a lot of challenges. One of the challenges is to do jaw neurosurgery. Neurosurgery, unlike other fields, it's highly sophisticated. And what we have been doing 30 years earlier, we are doing things that are unbelievable. We are going to every part of the brain now for neurosurgery, which are never thought of those days. So we have technology and the expertise to do that. Now, to develop the expertise is one thing, it is your onus. But getting the technology is a difficult task, because obviously it's expensive. To give you a small story, I never came to RCD group of hospitals for channeling for 10 years. I was doing when I came from Kandy to Colombo, nobody knew me. Nobody even bothered about me. Okay, so I went to Central Hospital doing a small practice. The only person who really looked at me and then gave me some facility was in a small sort of place in Norris Canal, which is called Norris Clinic. He was the only one who was treating me well, giving me a computer, giving me a facility. And even now, I still go there, just to sort of show that I respect him for what he did for me at that particular time. So I never went to RCD group, and they were always coming behind me asking me to come to RCD. Then I always refused. There's no need. And I never did surgery till 2004. I came to Colombo I became a neurosurgeon in 1992. I came to Colombo, to Sri Lanka, but till 2004 didn't do a single neurosurgery in the private sector, purely because we did not have the facility to do neurosurgery in the private sector. So one day when I was in RCD, in Central, the chairman of RCD group came and told me, "Doctor, we are building a place called RCD Surgical Hospital, a surgical facility. If you come to us, we will spend 300 million on you alone. We will give you all the facilities that you asked for, all the best equipment in the world, so that you can do top of the grade neurosurgery." So now you have a question, because whether you like to do neurosurgery in the private sector or not, if you can bring in that kind of facility to the country, obviously you have to accept that offer, because otherwise you will never get that facility. So that is how this neurosurgical facility, the top of the grade neurosurgical facility, came to Sri Lanka. Okay, so we started RCD Surgical, and I was the one who designed the theatre complex for them, because I have already designed the entire hospital for neurosurgery, the neurotrauma center at that time. So we developed that. We started doing top of the range neurosurgery, and then they decided that they will shift RCD surgical facility to here. And for that they spent 500 million. And we have got a fantastic facility here. We are running 3 theatres only for neurosurgery. We have only for neurosurgery ICUs set up and wards and all that. And we have made it into a top of the grade American standard neurosurgical center. So we have now, over the years, we have acquired everything that any sophisticated neurosurgical center should have. So in this country, at this particular moment, not a single person need to go anywhere for neurosurgery. Now when we were medical students and when we were young neurosurgeons, about 25% of the people used to go to India and Singapore for surgery. Now not a single person goes to neurosurgery abroad. Now you have seen MPs and various people going to Singapore for heart surgery, this and that, but never for neurosurgery, because we have made it in such a way that everybody can have a good quality neurosurgery here. So that was one of the biggest challenges, because getting the technology into this sector. Now, because we have got the technology to the private sector, now the government is also interested. So this kind of facility has actually come to the government sector as well. Okay, so you have to have somebody starting somewhere and improving the system so that others can see and then follow. That is what we have done. So what I have actually done is, we have actually brought the sort of facility to the country, and we are doing surgeries which are all top grade. So the people, the juniors who see what we are doing, will always try to match, and they'll always try to do something bigger, better than what they were doing yesterday. So that is the challenge that we had in developing the system. It's a difficult task, because you see, when you are working in a system like this, and then telling the hierarchy in the hospital to spend several million rupees, and these are pretty costly. You're talking about 60-70 million rupee equipment, and they expect you to make money for them from that. But what I have told them is, there is no way that we can make 70 million rupees from that. But then you see, you improve the facility, then it will improve the quality of the service, and then the image of the hospital goes up, and more people will come. Okay, so you don't need to use that equipment, but the image itself will bring you revenue. So that is what we have done. In this hospital, at this particular time, 40% of the revenue is from neurosurgery. Okay, so this is what we have given them. So whatever they have actually spent, we have given them much more than what they have spent. So that is how it works. Yeah, my personal feeling is that if you want to be a leader, okay, you need to be, one thing is you need to be honest about yourself. You need to know, you need to be a credible person. So everybody should understand you, should generally emulate you, respect you for that. Okay, so the first thing is you have to be credible, you have to be honest, and then you should have that amount of vision. You have to have some vision about what your future is going to be. So that has to come. Because without a vision, you cannot function as a leader. And that with that vision, you need to make sure that you are a good communicator, so that you communicate your ideas to others, so that they will also group with you to get into that kind of vision. Okay, so to achieve that, your team has to be groomed and brought forwards, and you need to lead from the front and make sure that they have a good person to follow. That is what you need to do. And the biggest problem that we see in the younger generation is they have become sort of engulfed in materialistic ways. So when you become engulfed in money making, then the entire thing sinks down to money making. And I don't think that is the right way. If you do something good, if you continue to do something good, and when people know that you are doing something good, then they will help you. Now, I always say, don't go after money. Money will come after you when you reach that level. Okay, when you start doing, now I tell my juniors all the time, do your job very well. You have to do your government job very well. Then only your name will become better. And then you will have people coming behind you. We never went after money at that time. Okay, we used to work huge amounts of hours, and that has brought us that amount of popularity, and then people sort of come behind us purely because they know that whatever we do, We do with a passion, and also we try and make sure that everybody is given a good deal. So that is what is all about. So the young generation will have to be oriented about this and committed, and work hard for what they will get at the end of the day. You cannot have the money factor coming in initially. Money should be the last. Money should come. Money should follow you rather than you go behind money. That is what you should look for. Yeah, now, you see, I have been in this business for a long time. So, neurosurgery has become routine. So, day-to-day neurosurgery is routine. So, basically, you are up to that standard. But then, you see, this is an evolving subject. So, neurosurgery evolves on a daily basis. So, if you are not evolving yourself, somebody will sort of go forwards before you. Okay, now I always think I'm a good neurosurgeon. I want to be the best. If I want to be the best, then I have to be the best. So that means I have to be top of the range. I need to do everything that is right at that particular time. So what I always do is I'm in touch with what is happening in the world. So every year I focus myself for a particular subject, and then we try to learn that and bring it to the country. Now, to give you an example, I want to do what we call scoliosis surgery. Okay, scoliosis surgery is, you know what scoliosis is, where the backbone is curved. Now that is a orthopedic surgery. Now it is done world over by orthopedic surgeons. Now in this country, we have not many people who want to do that surgery. So because of that, a large number of patients are going to other countries for surgery. So I decided, okay, at least we must try to get the knowledge about that surgery, specialize on it, and then give the juniors the chance to get into the subject and propagate it. So I started learning scoliosis surgery. It's very difficult to learn scoliosis surgery because it's not your field. If you want to go and learn the surgery, then you have to go to the orthopedic side, and they will never teach you. Okay, so that is how it works. It took me about 8 years to master it. I never did a single surgery until I mastered it, because you can't play with people's lives. So I've been to about 10 countries looking at it, and finally got the confidence to do surgery after going to Malaysia, seen them work, and then we started doing that surgery. Okay. Now, last year in October I went to USA to one of the best centers in the world, and the best, what we call it's called skull-based surgery. This team is the best in the world, and to get a place to go for their workshop, it takes 1.5 years waiting time, and the registration alone is 1 million rupees. Okay, but went there, learnt it. Now we are old people. Okay, in this game we are old, but still we still went to do that. So that kind of passion should be there. Okay, just because you are old, it doesn't mean that you can't learn. You should be able to learn and then propagate what you learn. So whatever that has happened in this country, the new surgeries that has been happening in this country, I have been the pioneer. I've been always the one who brought that surgery to this country, and the juniors have taken it from there. So it's good in the sense, at least when we do, seniors do, the juniors will listen, and they will try and emulate us. So that is how it goes.
Thank you, Doctor. She will ask a question.
You see now, as I told you, we had these challenges of you becoming a neurosurgeon, a good neurosurgeon, then you create a facility that is good for the country, and then you create neurosurgeons, many neurosurgeons, so that the country is self-sufficient in neurosurgery. Obviously, we need about another 75 neurosurgeons to match the world standards. But of course, so it's something that is achievable if the country, the politicians are willing for that. We have no control over that because obviously it is their bonus. Now, when you have all that, there are a few things that should come to system. Now, one important thing about neurosurgery is it's a costly exercise. We're talking in millions. Each equipment is millions. Okay, and with the equipment we have the implants coming in. We have the screws that we put in, the metal implants that we put in. These are very expensive. Okay, to give you an example, okay, I'm just showing this particular gadget. Okay, this particular gadget. Okay, this is a spinal implant. Okay, although it is big, there are various sizes you have. Okay, now when I was in UK, I went for this particular thing came into the market only at that particular time in 1992. So I was one of the trainees who went for the first course in implants, and they had two implants. One is something like that, a very small one, and then they had a different implant for fixing the head and the neck. So after the workshop, they gave us replicas, two replicas of those two. So I came back. Obviously, we didn't have that amount of facility in this country, and obviously we had these kind of patients who needed the facility. So I started making these implants in this country. Okay, so I brought what we call surgical steel from India. I got our people to do the implant. Okay, so this is something like that. Okay, so now this is seamless. Okay, this is seamless. So 5 years later, the company comes to me. Okay, so they have now come to the country, and they come to me and show me the implants. And they say one is 35,000 rupees. We were doing it for 1,500. Okay, and we were giving it free. Okay, we were getting bonus. We were giving it free. So when he gave me the implants, I went inside. I brought some which I had made and gave it to me and said, "Tell me what is yours and what is mine." He couldn't tell me what was his and or mine. So we have that amount of capability. Unfortunately, we have gone off steel now, stainless steel. We have gone on to titanium. Okay. Now the biggest problem about titanium is we don't have ready technicians who can do work with titanium. So we are using titanium screws and bolts and all that. Now one titanium screw, which is about less than 5 grams, is 35,000 rupees. If you buy in the market surgical titanium, 1 kilogram is 80,000 rupees. So if you can develop an industry in this country to make these implants and whatever, you are doing a huge service to the country. Now I have been to India, and they are developing these implants, and in small cattle sheds kind of places. The only thing that they have is a CAD/CAM machine. Okay, and I'm sure we can have that facility. So one of my dreams is to try and develop the industry here. I have been collaborating with Moroto University to try and develop the industry so that we develop our own implants, and then we go on to much bigger things like making our ECG machines, the BIM monitors and all that. We have the capability, but we never come together. The surgeons or the doctors and the engineers never come together. In other countries, they are together to develop the industry. So this is what we should do. From the ministerial level, they should have something developing so that we develop our own equipment. The biggest problem that we have is there is no commitment. Now, if I start an industry tomorrow, unless all my implants are bought by the government, there is no way that I can sustain my industry. Now, that commitment has to come from the government. Now, that is the thing that we have to inculcate these people. Make sure that these people understand the issues about cost, because very soon we will all realize that the free health system is not going to be viable. Okay, very soon we will have to pay money. Okay, so might as well be ready for that. So you have to have your own industry to run this system. So that is something that I've always envisioned, and I've been trying to do that. But of course, it's not easy to do with two hands. A lot of people will have to get into that. The other thing that I've been wanting to do was to develop a rehab center. So we have a huge dearth of we have a huge amount of people who are disabled in this country. They have no facility at all to develop. So now we have Ragam Rehabilitation Center, which does not actually cater to even 1% of what we need. So what I wanted to do was to develop a rehab center, an organization, so that we have a center which will start rehabilitation. And then develop satellite centers around so that we get our patients. People go to the periphery. We have satellite centers there, and then train people there, and then run it like something like Saru there. Okay, so that we give the expertise, we give.
So here we are talking about post-op
And also stroke care and say spinal injuries and all that. That is something that we need to do because otherwise
There was this big talk some years ago, maybe it's still there, about this medical tourism to get people to come here to use our facilities. Is that happening now?
it is happening. It is happening in the sense now a lot of people are coming from Maldives, Seychelles to get surgeries and various things done in this country. And also neurosurgery, a lot of people are coming from the Western world, specifically Sri Lankans living abroad, coming to get things done by us. Something is happening, but then the potential is so much. You see, medical tourism means you have to have that amount of publicity, you have to have that amount of quality which goes into that. I don't think anybody has that vision. Okay, people are coming because of various individuals. It doesn't happen as a business, industry, it doesn't happen. For individuals, people come. But it doesn't work like that. It has to come as a... No, the issue is this. You see, when you come to a certain level, okay, you want to have people of your level or higher running the system. I always tell my juniors, you see, when tomorrow I will be your patient. Okay, so you should be able to do what is best. Okay, so it is important that everybody improves. And it is not one single person who should run the system. Everybody should contribute, everybody should sort of have that same vision, and then everybody should try to be better than your teacher. That is the thing. We always say that our children should be better than ourselves, and our juniors should be better than us. Otherwise, the system will not run. The only thing that I'm doing is I'm actually giving them a run for their money. Okay, I'm showing the way. Okay, I'm showing the way so that they can also because the old man running so fast, others have to follow. Okay, so that is what we should do. We should show them the way, push them so much, try to make them as good as you are or even better, and when you leave, there is some legacy there. That is what you need to do. Now even developing the neurosurgery, neurotrauma unit, my idea was different. My idea was not to run that system. I wanted to run it so that the others could follow, could do something better than what my vision was. But then you see, everybody is not the same. Things change. But hopefully there are young guys who are sort of coming up. I'm sure they'll take that leadership.
I have covered the formal questions, that is one that we have pre-arranged. Why don't you ask if there is anything that comes to you, one or two?
Yeah, anything that...
I want to ask you. Yeah, start with. Dr. You said at a point you made the decision to stay here because you love this place and so on. We all have made that decision. When you look back, do you feel it's worth it? It's better than before?
Definitely so. Definitely so. You see, now, if I went to UK, there is a limit to what you can do in that country. You cannot go beyond a certain point. You will be one of the neurosurgeons. You will never be something more than the others, because that system does not allow you. Now, in this country, what happens here is, I do the most dangerous neurosurgery in the world. Okay, everybody who has the most dangerous problem comes to me. Okay, now everybody has given up those patients. That's why they come to me. And then I have to choose. Okay, so what I do is I take risks. I take huge risks. And when I take risks, obviously they are calculated risks. And 95% of the time I win, because I put so much of effort into that. I research on it, I think about it. Now, some days, there are certain times when I go to bed, I don't know how to approach that tumor. And the entire night, I dream of that procedure. And in the morning when I get up, I know how to get into that tumor. Okay? So that is how it works. So you put so much of effort, and you take that risk, and then you do the surgery. And under normal circumstances, if I was in UK trying to do that surgery, people might even sue me for doing that surgery, because it's dangerous neurosurgery. But we have taken the challenge. We have done over and over again. We have been doing that. And still my mortality rate is less than 1%, even while doing the most dangerous surgery in the world. Okay, so we have actually gone up to that level. But if I didn't do those patients would be dead. Okay, so you take that challenge. You have to be fearless. Okay, there is no way that you can achieve that being sort of a normal individual. So in that kind of country, you cannot come to that level, because you cannot take those challenges and do, because there will be so many people watching you and sort of creating issues. So here you have the facility to do that, and people trust you, and then they give their lives to you, and then you do whatever that is possible. So it happens. Now I give a small example. A small kiddie, about 7 years, well-to-do family. The child was diagnosed with a tumor in the small brain, huge tumor, this size tumor. And the moment the diagnosis was made, people said the only place you can get it done is Singapore. So the next day, the father takes the child to Singapore, Mount Elizabeth. The surgeon operates, and then he takes this amount of tumor out of that entire thing, and he calls the father and says, nobody in the world can do this surgery. Okay? So the only thing that you can do is give radiotherapy and allow the child to die. Okay? And for that surgery, he spent 14.5 million for that surgery, to take that small thing. And the child was brought to me, and when the child came, the child was very bad, headache, vomiting, can't walk, all that. And the child, because of this tumor, there was a huge collection of water inside the brain. And these people from Mount Elizabeth, they didn't even address that. So the child came to me, the same day we put a tube from the brain into the abdomen. The child became better. And I said, we can do the surgery. The father did not believe me. Okay, he never believed me. Okay, he said, let me see, and then went missing. And about a month later, he brings the child back to me. And what he has done is, he has gone to UK and showed it to another neurosurgeon, and they also have said very difficult, chances of death is high and all that. So he didn't have anything to do, he desperate, came back to me, and we did the surgery. Took me about 10 hours to do the surgery, and the child is now going to school. Okay, absolutely well. Okay, so it is possible. Okay, and how much do you spend here? About 2 million. Okay, for the entire surgery. So this is how it goes. But then you have to be fearless. You have to do that. That is how it goes. So what I feel is, if I did go there, I would also be a commoner garden neurosurgeon. But being here, we have propagated the system, we have done something good for the country, and also we are making sure that our people can be treated in this country. And I think that is the biggest achievement that we have got, because none need to go anywhere else for neurosurgery now.
You would have gone through much stress, like different stages, like maybe the government experimental thing, and sometimes with the difficult surgery or something. How do you manage?
Neurosurgery doesn't give me stress. I love it. And we work very long hours in the sense, most of the time we work beyond 2-3 a.m. And quite a lot of times, I am the only one who is awake. Everybody else is sleeping. My assistant also sleeps halfway through. Okay? Because we are working continuously. So I never sleep, because even I work, even if I go home at 5 a.m., I start work at 8 a.m. Okay, my system is such that I cannot be without working, because there are patients lined up. So when I work, even if I am tired, it's something like a trance. You go into that trance and then you work. So it doesn't bother me. Neurosurgery doesn't bother me. Very rarely it bothers you when you have a very complicated system. The only thing which bothers you is the other issues, the administrative issues, things like what we went through in the National Hospital. It really bothers you. But then, you see, that is part and parcel of life. Okay, you have to go through those, and then you have to come a winner, because otherwise, how can you run the system? Okay, so motto is always win. Okay.
Dr. I was told by a mutual friend, I only knew it yesterday, Sasanka, I just happened to talk to him. He tells me that you were never a nerd in school. That you
Never
had
a
very
nerd.
wide interest in sports and music and film and so on.
Yeah.
That helped your...
Yeah, we used to, you can remember, we never sat and studied. I think that is necessary. Okay, it's very necessary for you to be a normal person. Nowadays, the education system is such. You don't do anything other than studying. And ultimately, when you become a neurosurgeon or doctor or whatever, you are on one track. And that is why now we see a lot of medical students. Okay, we see a lot of doctors. They are very selfish. absolutely selfish, because the system has made them selfish. Because when you are studying for a very competitive exam, you don't want to teach anybody else what you know. You are trying to keep it for yourself. That is what has happened to the country. Okay, so you have to actually, this education system has to change. Make sure that every child has a normal life like we had. We used to play and do all kinds of things, and we have come winners. Doesn't mean that you have to study all the time to become winners. Okay, it is the way you look at it later on, and I think say when you have that kind of environment, then you become a more holistic person than otherwise.
And one of the things we are looking at is also the whole subject of EQ, emotional quotient.
Yeah.
Because, as you said, today the system is making people believe that knowledge and expertise in a field and academics will get you the top job. But you can't be a leader unless you have those experience of playing, being part of a team.
Yeah, that's right. You need to be a team player. If you are not a team player, then obviously you have a problem. So that is something that you have to develop. Now, I always consider myself, as I told you, this is a team, and I become the team leader. Okay, so when you are the team leader, then you have to make people work towards a goal. Now, when we have that kind of thing, you recruit people who are knowledgeable, who are motivated, and who can be adapted to that system. And also we take what we call foreign players into the system. Okay, foreign players in the sense you would bring in a neurologist into the system, a chest physician, a cardiologist into the system. So you look at the entire group of people, and then you choose the right people to come into your system, so that you have the patient is given the entire sort of looking after by all the right specialists. So when you are looking at one person, then you have to look for that person who will gel into that team. Okay, so otherwise you will have problems. Now we have had people, they come in and then they cut off other person's prescriptions and they write something else, and then you have a lot of dissension, conflict. So we choose people who will work together. And as a team leader, I never interfere. Now, I never ever write an antibiotic for my patient. Every time an antibiotic is written by a microbiologist. Because I always believe that it is he who is the best person to write that. Of course I can write about antibiotic, but that doesn't mean that I do the right thing. So when a specialist comes into the field, we give him the entire onus of looking after the patient from that point of view. But I coordinate between the specialists, and we bring everybody together when it needs to happen, so that we can have a group discussion about what the patient should have. And that is how it should happen. So what happens is, most of the time you have one person looking at that one end, the other person looking at the other end. There is no coordination between these two. Okay, but this coordination comes when you have a leader. That is what happens. So when a patient comes to me, I say I should be the leader. Otherwise it does not work. You need to have a leader who will run the system. That is how we have actually brought down our mortality rate so much. So that is how it happens.
So it's on the one side you're recognizing your specialists, absolutely, you're trusting them to be the specialists, but at the same time you're not allowing it to just be free for all. Everybody comes and leaves the thing. So that's a good.
You cannot have a free for all, because otherwise what will happen is nobody will take onus about the patient. Somebody should have that total control. That control has to be there. That is how it happens. So if you see that the cardiologist and the chest physician don't match together, then you bring these two together to a conference, and then we all get together and decide, okay, this is how we should manage that patient. That is how it should go. Most of the time it does not happen.
My next question is, Doctor, it was really frustrating to hear what you go through with the health ministry in Sri Lanka. So, I mean, if you look at the from a
You see, the first thing is, okay, the people who run the country should love the country. Okay, they should do everything which is good for the country, not for individual things. So if you have that attitude, then there is no sort of ownership or in that sense. You will do what is right for the country. And if I am the health minister, okay, tomorrow, what I will do is, I will bring in the best people in the country, okay, and then I give them various subjects to study and come up with the best ideas to run the country. Now, say if I am the new health minister and if I want to develop neurosurgery, I should bring in the neurosurgeons together and talk to them and then discuss how the vision should be for the next 20 years, 30 years. And that is how we should tackle. Okay, so we should have a short-term plan, a medium-term and a long-term plan, so that we can do something which is sustainable for the future. Now what is happening is this government comes, does something, and the next government comes and changes that. We should have a 20-25-year plan which will not be changed by governments. We should have a clear strategy, a policy that will not change. And that decision of change in the strategy or making the strategy should be completely unbiased. It should be for the country's benefit, not your benefit. What is happening now is you do everything for your benefit. So the country will never develop the way it is. Okay, so I think you people, you, me, everybody should get into the parliament and do something about it, rather than allowing those guys to run the country. And unfortunately, we don't do that because we are afraid to get in there.
There is whenever I see there's a tremendous potential, even as Lal said, for medical tourism and so on and so forth. I mean, isn't there a way that as a private sector can do something to attract, because now see, I mean, it's a huge amounts of money that's going out of the country. That's 14.5 million going to Singapore, where it's by 2 million. I mean, it could have been done here, and so much of foreign exchange could have been saved. And on the other hand, by marketing it outside, there is so much of foreign exchange that could be earned into the country. So haven't come down upon you or sort of thought of
Yeah, we actually, now this hospital is also into medical tourism, and then we have been talking to the people here to try and develop that tourism sector, the medical tourism sector. One important thing about medical tourism is you need to, first of all, you have to have a good health system, and the others should know that you have a good health system. Okay, so you need to have a strategy about marketing yourself to others. Okay, so marketing yourselves means you have to have that amount of data to market. Okay, so what is happening now is, now we do a lot of neurosurgery, but people don't know that we are doing that amount of neurosurgery. That amount of data does not get in to that segment of people. Okay, so what we need to do is, we need to have that amount of data from what we are doing across the country and make sure that people who do not have that kind of facility know that the facility exists here. The second thing is, we need to make sure that they understand that we are competitive money-wise, so that we can sort of get in those people, give them that amount of care for a lesser amount of money than going to a place like Singapore. The third thing is, you have to make sure that when the patients come here, they are looked after very well. Not only medical-wise, otherwise they have to be looked after, so that you bring them in, get their disease covered, and then they give them a holiday, so that they will be enticed to come. Okay, so that the tourism ministry, the health ministry, the private sector, everybody should come together and develop a strategy to do that. And it is not difficult, it is easy, provided you have that amount of energy and the commitment to do it. But who does it? Okay, that is what is lacking here. Okay, so if the hierarchy is willing to go that way, of course we can give them that amount of publicity and so on. Okay, now you can see these girls, this equipment all mine. All the equipment, the photography equipment, editing equipment, everything is mine. And we are doing a productions here. Okay, all our surgeries are videoed, all are done. So we are ready for marketing. And it is actually marketing, not for marketing in the sense to get me money, educate people and to show the country that we have that facility in this country, so that you don't need to go anywhere else, you can get things done here. Okay, so that is what we are doing. So that kind of thing, if we put into the foreign market, obviously people when they see it, then they'll be attracted. Okay, so that amount of commitment should be there, that amount of publicity should have to be there, otherwise it does not work.
Even some of the medical insurers are very keen to see where there are good facilities and the costs are low to send people, so that they can easily do that, because
Of course,
some of the, I know the medical insurers have Mount Elizabeth has been sort of blacklisted because their prices are so exorbitant.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
People have that facility here.
No, that's the thing. The only thing is the people now, the administration here should get into that and then propagate the sort of facility. It is happening, but then at a very, very slow rate. It doesn't happen the way we want.
I think we've had a remarkable meeting today, and I suppose you know that keeping a minute with Dr. Sunil is a challenge for most people in the country, so it's a real privilege for us to have over 2 hours of meeting with you. So maybe first thing is to show our appreciation. Thank you very much for being here. And it's been a very really an enlightening experience, even for me, having known you all my life. Remarkable amounts of information and knowledge about how you have practiced leadership and the lessons we can pick up. In fact, many of the things you said are the principles we've been talking about in the class, and then it emerged in the things that we were talking about. So that really reinforces the principles of leadership.
Yeah, the thing is, you see now, when I called and said, I want you to talk about leadership, I never considered myself as a leader. You see, obviously we lead many teams, but then you don't consider yourself as a leader. But then, obviously, we have gone that far. So most probably we are doing something good. So that is how it should be.
In fact, we talked about leadership as being able to align a group of collaborators to achieve a common vision. And your story of the neurotrauma unit, how the whole project was brought to a finish, was obviously a very good example. And then, of course, what has happened here last surgical. And then I think one of the things that really gets to us is the 3 things that Dr. Sunil said at the beginning. Wanted to be a great neurosurgeon, wanted to have a world-class facility in neurosurgery here, and also to generate more neurosurgeons. So you have a vision, and then looking back now after 30 years, each one of those there's a tick. So that is something that we should ask ourselves. Leadership at the end also is about results. It's not about just ideas that we talk about all the time. But do we have a vision that can be then evaluated or praised at some point and say so much of it has been accomplished? And still to have further, because vision is never fully accomplished. The vision of rehab and all of these things, pushing the boundaries is another pattern.
Yeah. It's very important that you evolve yourself. Now, my juniors actually, my system is an open door policy. Any neurosurgeon can come and see me operate. Okay. Okay, so they are given the facility to come and see me operate anytime. So my juniors come and see me operate, and then anytime they have a problem, they send me a WhatsApp about the patient, and then I advise them what to do and so on. So now when they come and see me, it's people who have been trained under me, and then they go abroad, come back, and then they come and see me. They say, "Sir, you are not doing what you used to do 2 years back. You have completely changed." Okay, so that is how it happens. We evolve every day. Now, when I work in my theatre, I allow my staff to tell me various things that they would think would help improve our surgery. So every time somebody brings a new technique, we say, this person's technique. We always say, every time we use that technique, we always say, this is his technique.
Oh, you mean your team members?
Team members, nurse.
Right, a nurse would be enough.
Nurse, or even a minor staff who is looking at.
Now, what out of the 5 do you see here? There are five practices of exemplary leaders, and the 5th one is, do not enable us to encourage the heart. So you're celebrating what someone contributed rather than taking it and making that also yours. So that person also grows and becomes more
because we encourage them to think. We encourage them to come up with ideas. Because you see, when there is a technician who continues to work with equipment, if you encourage them to innovate, they will always innovate. Now, we have various equipment. There are specialist technicians who are doing that particular equipment alone. All my technicians are world class. Okay, the person who is doing the neuro navigation system is unbelievable. He has gone way beyond the company itself. When the company technicians comes here, he's amazed as to what this guy is doing. Okay, so we have actually given him that amount of encouragement to become something more than what he's expected to do. And he knows that I'm there supporting him all the time. Now, if there is a course that he can go to improve himself, I pay my money and send him. Okay, I don't wait for somebody else to send. I send him, because you see, at the end of the day, I benefit. If he brings something new, I benefit, and my patients will benefit. So that is what you should do. So that is how it works. And also, we try to encourage people in the entire system. Now, I take the entire hospital for a trip every year. I don't need to do that. It has to be done by the hospital itself. But I take purely to show that we recognize their efforts. I take the kitchen staff, I take the laborers, I take the clerks. Because you see, without them you don't run the system. They have to be there to run the system. Okay? So if you recognize them, they will do something better tomorrow. So that is how we try to do. So it's an open trip for everybody to come. So they come there, have some fun, and it actually creates a lot of harmony between departments, because there is always disharmony between departments. The ICU fights with the ward, and ward fights with the theatre and all that. So what happens is, when you have a thing like that, there's so much of harmony. Okay, when we do that, we get everybody to get involved in that organization and all that. So it is good fun. It works.
One final question.
Yeah.
How many books on leadership have you read?
Nothing.
Isn't that amazing? Everything you're reading, he's doing, but he hasn't read a book on leadership. That, I think, is something we really need. That leadership is
something which comes with, yeah.
Because you do leadership, you're a leader, not because you know leadership. I think that's really illustrated in this slide. Thank you very much, Sunil.
Okay, it's a pleasure.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it a lot.
Nice meeting you all. Okay, Ivan.
Thank you very much.
Okay.